All right, everybody, here we are. It's time for the Week 9 review. A lot of things went well that week for some of us, and a lot of things not so well. But the playoff picture did get a little bit murkier. So right now we've got teams at 4 and 6 who are one game out of a playoff spot. So we'll see what happens. Let's start with our game of the week, which was Bill's Collector versus Han. So I picked Jason to win because the curse is dead, and he did. So I had 2 Han picks right in a row, so that's good news. In terms of the matchup, I thought Jason would have an advantage at the quarterback, but turns out Jameis decided that he would do what he should have done last week and put up less points. So Jameis was better than Allen. Running backs was a whitewash for Calder, but he played 3 of them. Aaron Jones is a touchdown machine, and Ty Johnson got hurt, so he didn't do anything. And Devon Singletary was disappointing. Frank Gore's still getting the goal line carries, even though Devon Singletary is far better, and Gore keeps getting stuffed. So that probably cost them the game. So that wasn't smart. Wide receiver was the other way. It was total destruction for Han. Han had Christian Kirk go for almost 32 points. So 3 touchdowns, really good for Christian Kirk against Tampa Bay. He had Devon Adams, so 2 guys he got for me, combined for 43 points for him. Manny Sanders got hurt, so he was a little disappointing, but he had 2.4 points, and Mike Williams had 6, so that was 50 plus points for Han from the wide receiver position against about 7 or 8 for Calder. So John Brown got 77 yards, and Cooper Kupp got a big fat 0. So nobody saw that coming, especially not anyone who owned Cooper Kupp. So that's where Han won the matchup. He won it with his, with 2 things. He won it with his wide receivers and his defense. Kicker was nobody really did anything. Matt Prater got more points than Mayer. Mayer had the week that he should have had last week, but instead he had 6 points and to Prater's 9. And defense, Calder put up 22.5, which is a decent day for defense. Again, Buda Baker with a ton of points. But Han got a touchdown from Dante Fowler, got almost 16 points from Corey Littleton, and almost 9 points for the DB from Detroit. So really good results there. That's 33 points from his defense. So between the 40 some he gained in wide receiver and the 10 he gained in defense, it was a whitewash. The one thing that was interesting is that Calder could have won this matchup by putting in some different people. You never know who's going to get hurt or who's not, but on his bench he had Kyle Rudolph, who outscored Chris Herndon 15.4 to 0.7. So that was 14 points he could have had. Crowder, 14 points. Peyton Barber, 11 points. Mark Ingram, Melvin Ingram, 12 points. And he only lost by 24. So puts in 2 of those guys and he would have won. But instead, they're both tied at 4 and 6 and 1 spot out of a playoff spot. Looking at my matchup with Dan, I said I was going to win, and I did. Did not see Daniel Jones putting up 37 points, but Han got a lot of points from the guys that he got from me, but I got even more from the guys I got from him. Daniel Jones, 37 points, was my MVP. Followed closely behind by another guy I traded for, Derrick Henry. 31 points from Derrick Henry. So when 2 of your players combined almost 70, it's pretty tough to beat. looking at key players for Dan, Kyler Murray was in the shootout, so Daniel Jones put up 37, Kyler Murray put up 31, Amari Cooper put up 20, um, Matt Gay put up 12. So Dan had good days. Hunter Henry put up 10, but at the end of the day, I had 15 from Carson, 19 from Melvin. It was just I was too much. My running backs were too much for him, even with disappointment from Matt Breida. So we move on. Dan's in that group of 4 and 6, one game back from a playoff spot. Just made a great trade with Graham to help both teams. Dan gets an extra first rounder, and invests in Kyler Murray as a starting quarterback, and Graham gets the guy he's been trying to trade for since he got in the league. So good results there for both those guys. So I picked 2 games, Han and me, and both were right. Let's go to my upset of the week pick, which was Danny against Devon, and Danny was the second lowest scoring team of the week. But nobody would have predicted against the terrible Atlanta Falcons, Drew Brees throwing up 11 points. So Danny started from behind and never caught up. I mean, Devon didn't have a great week. He only put up 101, but he won by 30. So not great for Dan. You know, looking at who did well for Dan, it was Robert Woods, Greg Olson. They put up 20 points combined. And that was it. I mean, his defense was 16. His Tyler Lockett got injured, so that's kind of unfortunate. Jalen Samuels did nothing. Marvin Jones was okay, but no touchdowns. So, not even from Drew Brees. No touchdowns means no wins. Believe me. Looking at Devon's, who did well for Devon's team, Mark Andrews was his MVP. Scored the highest score on his team, 17 points. Other than that, Chubb with 12. His kicker was 11. Bobby Wagner was 9, and Jeremy Bates was 10.5. So he didn't do overly amazing. So he's going to have to bring more than that next week to win his matchup. But we'll see where we go there. So it looks like Danny down at 2 and 8 is the exact inverse of where he was this point last season. He's having a rough year with injuries, so it's hard to do. He'll probably come back and win first overall pick like he does every time he's in the loser bracket. But I'm going to skip Rich's game. We'll do Rich's game last. Look at what would have been the game of the week had we not done Calder's, which was Graham against Deke. So I picked Deke to win this one. So I'm 2 and 1, by the way, because I picked Danny, who lost by 30 points, and then I picked Deke, who lost by 30 points. So looking at this matchup for Graham, put up 125. Everybody on his team had double digits almost. Phillip Rivers was disappointing, but got 10 points. So here's the players that got over 10 points for Graham. Phillip Rivers, Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, O.J. Howard, Marlon Mack, Michael Gallup, Ronald Jones, DeForest Buckner. So that's everybody except for 3 players on his team who got 7 and 6. So just a total team effort coming in 125 points. Looking over at the other side, MVP of that for Deke is Josh Jacobs and Marquise Brown. So the rookies showing up for Derek, scoring 30 points combined. Biggest disappointment is Saquon Barkley. Barkley had 6 points, 1 total rushing yard against the New York Jets. Not good. Disappointment number 2, coming off his 30-some point week, Jimmy Garoppolo. He looked bad, especially after Manny Sanders went out. But he plays Atlanta next week, or Arizona next week. So Derek roll with Jimmy again, or does he bring Tom Brady back in? Who knows? We all know he hates Tom Brady. So anyway, I picked Derek to win. He totally let me down. Derek is still in a playoff spot. Both these teams actually are now are in playoff spots. Derek's at 5 and 5, and Graham's tied for third at 6 and 4. So both teams right now looking like they're going to be moving on to try and win. So let's see if we can get some defending champions in the tournament bracket. Drew versus Yip. So Yip decided to keep Pat Mahomes on the bench for some reason, even though he was active, and started Kirk Cousins. Kirk had a fine game. He was 23 points, which was 15 points behind Patrick Mahomes. So Mahomes would have been with Lamar Jackson, co-MVPs of the week, but going up against Lamar Jackson put up 39 points for Drew. So Kirk Cousins couldn't keep it. Now, Yip did put up his highest score the last few weeks at 72 points. And he actually had some guys do pretty well. Cousins and Doyle did fine. Doyle had 10 points. His kicker had 9. Otherwise, just middle of the road. Terrell Williams had a disappointing game for Oakland. A.J. Brown for Tennessee had a disappointing game against Kansas City, and Kenyon Drake, coming off his huge game, did nothing, and they looked bad. Arizona running backs looked real bad. Over on Drew's side, Lamar Jackson put up 39 points and looked amazing. Le'Veon Bell, 13 points, and Chandler Jones, 10.5 points. So those were his key players. Now, he did have a 0 from his kicker, but it still was enough to win by 33 points. Not many of these games went into Monday night with any question marks. I won by 32. Jason won by 23. Devon won by 30 or 27. Drew won by 33. Graham won by 31. And Rich won by 70. So picking Rich and picking Drew puts me at 4-2 for the week. So good pick week for me. Talked about Graham's team being a total team effort. Well, so was Rich's team. But Rich had 4 players score over 20. So Baker Mayfield 21, Dalvin Cook 24, Leonard from, I don't know his first name, Darius Leonard from Indianapolis, 20 at the linebacker, and Jamal Adams did pretty much everything for New York, 25.5 points. So, defensive MVP performance of the year in fantasy so far this year. Other than that, Mixon 15, Butker 13, Kelsey 13, Galladay 11. I don't know. Rich needs to have a talk with Joey Bosa. He only had 1.5. So other than that, they just balled out, right? Looking at the opposite team, Tyreek Hill 22 points and Golden Tate 19 points. So Matty Ice has talent on his team. They just didn't show up in big numbers like Rich's did this week. The one guy, the biggest stud of the week by far, if you watched any of the game, he just slow. David Johnson looks terrible. So I don't know if he's hurt more than he thought he was or what, but San Francisco might kill him this week. But he was -1 point. So in the last 2 weeks, maybe 3, maybe 4. Let's check. But David Johnson, ever since he got made inactive, has been absolutely terrible. So since week 7, he has a total of negative 0.8 points. 0.2, 0, 0, -1. He's been in Matty Ice's lineup the whole time. It's unfortunate because before that he was killing it, but something's wrong with David Johnson. He just looks terrible. So that's all the games. 4-2 puts me at 38 wins and 22 losses for the year. So that's a really good result. We got the preview coming up later in the week. A couple things we know. about our season is that Devon's in. He's clinched the playoffs. He probably clinched it a few weeks ago, but he's also clinched first overall. It doesn't show it on the stats, but the worst Devon can do is 10-3. The best Rich can do is 10-3, and Devon beat Rich. So tiebreakers head to head. So Devon gets to decide where he wants to spend that money. Rich has all but guaranteed himself a spot. I think one more win, he's 95% in, but I think one more win probably gets him in. What's interesting there is that Rich is now the high scoring team, and he's got a chance at Han's high score record. So Han's high score record was an average of 127.3 points per game in 2015, and Rich is currently on pace 126.9. So he's have a couple more bigger weeks, and he could be in. Devon is one win away from taking down the record of most wins in the regular season, and he's playing the guy who holds that record next week. So if Devon goes 11-0, he wins it. So, all right, that's it for this week. For this review, Week 10 was fun. We know nothing more about the playoffs. It just got messier. So, yeah, good luck in the coming week, everybody, and see you for the preview. Remember, women don't find you handsome. It's always fantasy.